Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 79 of IGEL Weekly. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. This week is a corporate edition. We're going to mix it up, though, and actually pull a blog from the Citrix site and talk a little bit about endpoint analysis and specifically how it relates to IGEL. I got Chris Feeney with me. Chris, how's it going?
It's going well, man. I feel like it's been forever and a day since we've been together on the same podcast. Been a busy first part of the year, that's for sure.
Things are well, yeah, first part of the year, it's June almost, right? It's crazy. I don't even remember where the first half went.
Yeah, looking at a lot of expense reports getting in and out, but there's been a lot of things to talk about and exciting beginning of the year for sure. So
your ears are probably burning. I met several healthcare customers last week, and they're working with IGEL, and some of them know you slightly, and some of them don't know you at all. And I was like, well, that's the guy we need to get you hooked up with if you're talking about Imprivata and some of these healthcare workflows. So hopefully my team is doing that, and you should get a couple more customers wanting to just chat with you and us occasionally.
Yeah, in the area that you cover, at least the original area, I spent a lot of time developing that territory. And there are some people still around that I know, and a few that I don't, but it's starting to get engaged more in those conversations. And the exciting thing is we are bringing something to market. We're not talking about it today, but we're weeks away from launching a new integration with Imprivata that I've been very excited about. So more to come on that. We'll definitely highlight on a podcast in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Well, this is actually okay. So this is off the blog we're talking about today is Enhanced Endpoint Security with Citrix Endpoint Analysis (EPA) for IGEL OS, and it's from a guest. So the guest is actually Catherine, what looks like Gallagher, marketing at IGEL. So it's technically is an IGEL blog. It just happens to be hosted on the Citrix blog site.
Yeah, we've got it also co-hosted on our site, but it's the same blog. And it just highlights really the long-standing partnership we've had with Citrix over the decades now. And this is yet another integration that we can talk about today.
Yeah. Okay. So I switched back over to the IGEL posted one. Same blog. This is timely for me because I literally are running around presenting these IGEL XenTegra blueprint lunches, and it includes IGEL as a big dose of that, and Citrix and VMware and others. But one of the things I talk about is when we get to our next phase of zero trust at XenTegra, we've eliminated the idea of BYOD. The only way you could use BYOD is to log into our workspace and get a mitigated experience where you only have access to, say, like a virtual desktop. At the same time, if you have a BYOD device, but you boot from a UD pocket, then all of a sudden you can have IGEL, and then you can have access to everything again. So that's the future design here at XenTegra. It's somewhat in place now, but using Citrix Endpoint Analysis to determine, okay, is this an IGEL unit or not? That's what we're going to be doing. And one of the things I love about our company is we use the technology. Therefore, we can stand behind things that we believe work, and you don't have to, Mr. Customer, guess at what works or try to figure it out. You can just follow our blueprint, or you can talk to us about, deviations from.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's using it, certainly getting a feel for it. I've been heavily testing this new integration we've had, on different platforms and trying different things and getting a sense of, do we feel like it's, ready to go? But using it certainly gives you that confidence. And like I said, when I'm on the road, I carry my IGEL laptop in pockets and swap them back and forth. So, and with this really this idea, this story, this reminds me of my first year at IGEL, and one of the federal accounts, they, I wouldn't call it endpoint analysis, but their users needed to, in order to access their Horizon desktop, they needed to have a VPN client that they were using, but it wasn't enough just to have that. They wanted to be able to know that it was an IGEL device coming in. And so we did something to try to make that acceptable when they were connecting in. And then once they passed that check mark, essentially, then they could, proceed forward. So this is that similar kind of idea here. I'm sure it's way better.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, your audio may be a little low, so maybe turn it up a little bit or just speak up a little bit, but
sure,
it's not bad.
No problem. Let me just check my microphone. Yep, I know exactly what the problem is.
So I think we've covered, the general idea here. the first real topic, once you get past the introduction, is granular control enables direct access to analyze and check device posture. First paragraph is talking about grants the IT administrators Citrix Endpoint out to run health check to the targeted device. And then really goes into this section here where it talks about the detect. What I think is most important here when it comes to IGEL, because some of this other stuff doesn't matter, and that is, what is the actual operating system? Do you know if there's a specific check that it checks specifically for IGEL when it's looking at the endpoint?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. I need to check because it's obviously it's and by the way, is my audio better?
It is.
All right, this is just a live demonstration of using a much better audio like this EPOS headset. A little side, we should have them as a sponsor, by the way. Anyway.
Well, I think we
talk
about them all the time.
That's right. My webcam wasn't getting the job done, so we're working much better audio now.
Simple to put, if you use virtual apps and virtual desktops and you don't use at least something similar to EPOS, you're using the wrong thing.
Correct. But yes, I believe there is some level of checking there. I was checking to see, since it is part of the Workspace app, more specifically 2302. That's where I was looking to see if there's if it's not on our side, on their side, where you say make sure it's an IGEL, or you could specify it as such. So,
and let's say you get checked and it's determined that your OS is IGEL or some supported operating system, or better yet, not supported operating system, or your updates, your OS updates, your antivirus updates, or antivirus period, your firewall, your web browser, certain softwares are up to date. Can you explain what happens next?
Yeah, this is a great question. So obviously, one of the benefits of IGEL is, as a read-only OS, we don't need a lot of that stuff like the antivirus software or various things. But the other things that might make sense to check are if the OS version does need to be updated, and on version 11, that would obviously include whatever the Citrix Workspace app is, or maybe the Chromium browser, for example, what versions of those are out there. If, for example, there is a need to go to a higher version, I guess as of 2302, anything higher than that, would they check for that, and then before proceeding, make sure that the OS gets an update. Now, for those that administer IGEL, they know that as soon as the device comes online, whether it's on the in the office talking to the UMS server directly or remotely managed, you can push out an update rather quickly, so that it is up to speed before it tries to connect into resources. So there are ways to handle that. But assuming that had not occurred, this would basically do that check and say, hang on, you gotta update before you can connect.
Yeah. And I guess what I would highlight in addition to that is you can grant access to some resources, but not others. So you can pick and choose. Do you give them a virtual desktop? Maybe, probably. I don't know. Do you give them a virtual desktop but turn off, file redirection? Yeah, maybe printing's turned off. All kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, the power of those policy-driven decisions. That is, I think, where you guys definitely excel on the Citrix knowledge. Mine, not so much. I could make an educated guess as to what those options might be or could be. But I'm not
limitless. And part of that too is, and this is, I struggle. I meet people every week, and even though it's 2023, people still either see Citrix as published apps or some type of virtual server desktop or VDI desktop. And if I were to log into my workspace today, you would see just 50 different things that I can go and do. Most of them I don't even have to launch a virtual app or desktop to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, we talk about it a lot. I mean, Windows is just a platform to access apps, and there's just a lot of apps that still need that type of platform, but a lot of them have migrated over and are easier to get into, let alone some of the, authentication scenarios where you can authenticate once and then it kind of gives you access seamlessly across your resources. No. And I've tried, I know, for example, we talked about it before. I've tried to work out of just the Edge browser, for example, for a day, and everything I need out of there. And honestly, not a terrible experience, I'm
sorry, it didn't come through. Did you say a terrible experience or not?
No, not a terrible. I mean, remember when you guys had your kickoff in Nashville, I forced myself to present from, we were doing it through Teams, but from the browser. In this case, Edge on my device, I think it was my IGEL device, and it worked great.
Yeah. Yeah. The only real wild card, if your environment set up, is network latency. And I did it last week at Ruth Chris, and 5 years ago I would have been really scared. These days I was less scared, and it worked really well.
Yeah, I'm less scared about the latency pieces. I mean, especially when you're running a virtual desktop these days, it just seems to have the experience factor has gone on way up. Even if it's just on 4G LTE or whatever, it's not terrible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the latency that's the key, and I'm using it this morning on my all-in-one back here and working, and a little bit of typing latency, which I got to go talk to my team about. But other than that, it's been a phenomenal experience and very secure all at the same time.
Nice. I think you mentioned earlier you're going to try to implement some of this EPA stuff, or already are. Is that correct?
Well, we've gone from being a Citrix partner that was all about BYOD to being a partner who understands that BYOD, bring your own device, BYOD is a good thing, but needs to be mitigated and controlled. Between single identity sign-on, multi-factor challenge, good identity provider scenario, between all that plus controlling the devices with either a Tanium agent or limiting devices to something that we send out. If you have all that, then you get to see everything. If you don't have one of those, then you get to see a small subset of things. But for the most part, it's what the people need to do their job. So we're implementing a user experience, a zero trust, high definition user experience is probably the best way to say that. And I think not enough people say those two things in conjunction, and it really needs to be both at the same time.
Yeah, the zero trust, the high definition experience. Is that what you said?
High definition user experience, zero trust, or zero trust with a high definition user experience. That's actually your goal.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's it goes back to what I learned years ago, trying to implement new technology or enhanced technology in healthcare. You got to find the right mix between security and convenience.
Yeah.
And if you get that blended together and the user doesn't really know that behind the scenes there's a bunch of security in place to make that a great experience, that's let's dare say the holy grail, if you will, but that's what you're aiming for.
The restaurant in town with the best food, but without a good customer experience, is not going to be a great restaurant.
Indeed. That we went to one this weekend. We've been there years and years, but hadn't been in a while. We went back, and they could have made it a much better experience if they even just had like music playing lightly above, right? It was dead quiet, if you will, and you can kind of hear what other people were talking about, and just all you need was a little bit of ambience, and it would have made it a little bit better.
Yeah, they could actually have bad food, but good ambience, and people would actually maybe likely like it come back.
Yeah. So just that little thing where like, you know what, we probably won't come back here for a while, if at all. So
it's all about understanding that crazy thing that matters the most, and that is the human being.
I guess look at it this way. If the end user knows that it's Citrix or IGEL or whatever, and they start using those words, then you realize you're kind of in a bad situation. Yeah. Generally speaking, if they're having problems and they're like, oh, it's this, you want to try to make that invisible, if you will.
Yeah.
You can do a lot, obviously, with these combination of technologies, but if they are already starting to put those words in a bad context, you're fighting an uphill battle.
Well, and what I dislike the most, and I've done it with people multiple times in my career, is when you make that support call and the tier one guy start specifically telling the end user what it is they're dealing with, and potentially blaming the part that isn't even the problem, but they don't know any different. They just think they sound smart by throwing out the different technologies under the covers. That will get me riled up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'm very much, my approach is obviously understanding what is the use case we're trying to achieve. Has that been correctly set up? And if so, are we dealing with, okay, something's not quite working, we got to fix that, or is it, it's something they want to do that we have never done before, or whatever, right? Or maybe it's a true bug. whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and there are true bugs, but more often than not, it's configuration issues.
yeah, I can't live driving into the weeds right out of the gate. I do a trust but verify. I love that. That was Ronald Reagan's kind of approach when they were keeping the Russians at bay, right? They had this, and that really, honestly, from my days in the federal, that really referred to the verify was our spy satellites, checking on them, making sure they were, staying true to the negotiations and whatever. But yeah, trust but verify. I use that. Yes, I understand what your problem is, but let me just take a look at a couple things first. So we're actually going to do that today with one of your teams. Customers trying it out, and something's not quite going right. I don't know exactly what the problem is, but we're going to take a look, and I suspect it's just configuration and should be in and out in 10 minutes, hopefully. So I can hear you. Not really. I think check your audio, my friend. Nope.
Okay, how about now? Test.
Yep, working now.
My microphone died on me or something. Anyway, I'll tell you, I was getting excited because Max from EPOS just let me know got another headset for me, so I'm excited about that.
Oh yeah, I tell you, their stuff. I love it. I whether it's the speakerphone or this one that I use when I'm walking around the house or something, or the adapt ones that I carry on the road with me, their stuff's awesome. So makes a difference.
Yeah, I switched over to one my Yeti mic, however, quit working on me, and now I'm on the EPOS device for road sound and
Yeah.
Save the day again. All right. Well, Chris, thank you for the time. I know you got a lot to do coming off a holiday weekend. I know I got a ton to do, but appreciate it, and we'll do it again in a couple weeks.
All right. Take care.